There was a 2020 study that McKinsey did that found that in companies, leaders who had these extreme adaptability skills were 2.3 times more likely to outperform their peers. So what do you think about this? The more adaptability, what are those? Do you have concrete examples of what it really means to be more adaptable as a leader?
Yeah, I mean, there are tons of concrete examples, but I think I just want to double down on what it's going to take you to be more adaptable, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that leaders are going to have to place themselves into a position and mindset of continuous learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that feels exhausting, right? And I know we sit on this podcast and we're like, yo, you're going to have to be mindset of continuous learning, stay curious and be flexible, embrace uncertainty. You're like, I'm exhausted. Well, I think that, yes, you're exhausted and change is not going to stop coming at you.
Yeah.
So a way in which you can manage yourself and your well-being is to never get stuck in something as firm and keep yourself extremely flexible so that you can then take what is coming at you and translate it for your team.
Yeah.
If you close yourself off and, because you're exhausted or you're tired, you will not hear something and the way that you will translate it to your team will not be right. And then that will cause problems for you. So if you can figure out ways to re-energize yourself, to stay curious, almost expecting something to change, right? And creating some flexibility in the way that you work and the way that you work with your team.
Yeah.
You will keep your team malleable so that when something is coming down, it's almost as if you can absorb it.
Yeah.
And keep things moving. And this takes practice.
Yeah.
So I don't want us to be saying these words and it sounds like, oh, well, that's all I got to do is stay curious. No, that's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
What we're saying is you're going to have to place yourself as a leader in this state of being almost like what's about to happen.
Yeah.
Not paranoid, just what's about to happen, or talking to your leader. Okay, anything coming down the pike, or are you hearing about anything? Is there anything I should probably shift focus around?
No, that's not.
Versus, again, moving from this notion of this fixed plan.
Yes.
It's gone away.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, there are, again, tons of examples, but I just wanted to throw that in there.
Well, I think it would show up again if we come back to your 3 circles of strategy there with the business, operational, and people. I think an adaptable leader, you will see evidence of that in those 3 areas. So as you've just described, yes, I may have a strategy, but around business-wise, am I even anticipating perhaps 2 options depending on, I don't know, we're waiting for some direction from the IRS about how we do payroll. We haven't got the answers yet. So let's just be ready so that when that direction drops, I've got 2 options there. And operationally, this is how I work with my team. I'm always talking to them about, let's wait until, I've checked with legal counsel and I've got this meeting, but we'll be ready to roll either direction depending on what we hear. Those, the processes to deliver on that strategy, there's adaptability built into that as well. So it's not just that, in my mind, I'm like, oh, cool, this is okay. They've just changed this thing. But rather, I'm actually set up. I think about it. I communicate about it. We have processes set up to respond to this. That's actually an indicator of a leader who is adaptable, rather than, shit, I didn't think that through. Now we got to respond. Well, your job is to always anticipate that there will be 3 or 4 crises. So build that in.
So let's dive into the actual, like, how do leaders adapt and thrive in this environment, right? So let's go through these. It won't be a surprise that the first one is build trust and psychological safety. I mean, we talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
So if your team doesn't feel psychologically safe to share their own ideas, to make mistakes, to challenge the status quo, to help you foresee something that might be coming down the pike, to be able to get into that change with you and see options. I'm just going to put it, quite frank, you're not leading, you're managing.
Yeah.
If your team does not feel safe to share ideas, make mistakes, or challenge the status quo, you are not leading, you are managing. And there is a difference.
Yeah.
Dean, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah, yes. And I also just want to add, if it's not even that your team doesn't feel safe to share ideas, but part of you is like, I hope they don't give me any ideas because I've got the idea and this is what I want. That's also you're managing there.
Good example. Really good.
I think a second one is to be able to, especially helps with our adaptability, is to be able to lead your people by giving them clarity rather than thinking I have to give them certainty or have all the answers. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough one, I think, especially if you're a leader who has maybe a lot of expertise or some, a depth of technical knowledge, that to be in a space of, well, we don't know right now, to use that early example. The IRS hasn't given us the direction on this deferred tax process, and my team's working in compliance. I can't tell them what to do. I don't have that certainty. What, I must make it up for them? No. But to still be able to say, this is what I have set in place. This is how we're working as a team, or this is who I've spoken to, and this is how we're tracking, and this is how we'll be ready. So you're still communicating action, you're still communicating this is how we will respond, but you don't have to give that answer. And the simplest way I can describe this, and it comes from my earlier working days. After I was a teacher, I ended up working in a call center, a customer contact center. Remember when everything was a call center in 2000? But in working on customer service there, so inbound lines, what was the first lesson we learned is that if you need to put somebody on hold, they've inquired about something and you're waiting for an answer, you don't just leave them on hold. You keep on coming back and say, thank you so much for waiting. I'm going to process that as soon as possible. I'll be back in 30 seconds. And you come back again, and you come back again. Whether you have to tell them 10 times or not, thank you, I'm coming, it's coming. You're still giving them certainty of, I'm with you, even if you don't have the answer. And we know that too. You've got a problem with a bank. You just want somebody to phone back and say, we don't have the answer here, but hey, we're on this. So I don't want leaders to ever be the equivalent of put your people in a call center on hold, put them on hold for a month and go, well, we haven't been told that yet. Communicate what you do know, say what you don't know, explain how operationally you are ready to respond once you actually have that clarity.
Yeah, I think we could do a whole podcast on leaders feeling as though they need to have all the answers. I think because I think this is a bit of a mentality that's out there.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, just sometimes just saying I don't have all the answers yet. Yeah. But let's figure out what we do know and what we don't know and what we need answers to, and we'll figure it out together. And there's something about that transparency that I think a lot of leaders struggle with. But it is definitely second in terms of this list, leading with clarity and not certainty. What do you think about this notion of asynchronous communication? Mastering it?
Yeah, no, I think that's a powerful skill or an approach for a leader to adopt. If we think about asynchronous, that means not everybody is together all the time, synchronous. So are you over relying on, we've got our Zoom call on Friday morning, and that's when I'll be able to tell everybody X, Y, and Z? Sure, still have your Zoom call, but we don't always need everybody together. And I appreciate that sometimes the intention behind that is, I don't want to tell some people before others, or will it seem like they're favorites, or will I forget the way in which I said at the Friday meeting might be different than if I have a one-to-one. You got to get over that, get past that, and just see what are some other methods. And of course, if you're listening, you're like, sure, I don't just wait for a Zoom call, Dean. But there are lots of additional ways of whether it's a little voice note that you're sending to people, or really making sure that how things are documented. Can people get hold of information from you or your communication? Is there a consistency that people can say, oh, there's almost like a whole range of ways in which I can get to my manager. There's a range of ways in which my manager gets to me. It's not just like, now we got to wait for the town hall in 2 weeks. What can I still drip feed to people, whether it's, through instant messaging type things, or the meetings, or the communication that are emailed or whatever. What did I miss?
Yeah, I would say, the only thing I would add, and I would just say a little bit more harsh, I think is, if you're still stuck in a meeting heavy, must be online 9 to 5 mentality, you're killing the productivity of yourself and your team. And trust me, this is somebody who actually lived like that. And I would even say, sharing things through clear documentation, voice notes, using tools like whether or not you have Slack or not, or Notion. Not everything needs to be on a Zoom call, and not everything needs to be you saying it to people. So the fourth one I would add is focus on outcomes and not hours. Do you want to take this one, Dean?
Yeah, sure. Well, also, I think in our last podcast, though, we were talking about like focus on progress, reward progress, recognize progress. So I would say like focus on progress and outcomes rather than watching the clock. And that's what you've spoken to. If I am inadvertently favoring somebody because I think, wow, he really works late. Great. Acknowledge that. That might still be something for you to have a look at, like, how come this guy's working late? But to actually see what's beneath that. Am I still seeing progress from this person? Are they achieving what I've set out for them to achieve, more than just, well, I'm sort of bamboozled by, or I'm seduced by the super hours that somebody's working, rather than, and I'm not actually looking beneath that level, or that beneath the surface, to actually see the effort, the progress, the outcomes that have been achieved. And in a way, then it shouldn't matter what the hours are. Don't look at the clock. I mean, sure, maybe we contracted to work a certain number of hours, but if that's your primary lever that you are pulling to be able to say whether somebody's good or bad, or whether they're a hard worker or not, we're missing a trick. We actually need to understand their work.
Yeah, and I think I know I'm biased, and I know I get a lot of I get dragged a little bit on my days of McKinsey, especially today. But I still think, professional services organizations, and even to some extent financial services organizations, just got this right. They just set a bar of what they expect people to do. They're giving that sort of expectation. And no one's sitting there, tracking whether or not they came in at 9 and left at 5. Yeah. It's really about, what did you produce? And if you produced it fast, can you do more? And so I just want to double down on, just because you see someone sitting at a desk for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, it does not mean that the work that they're doing is stellar and what you even asked for, or what you even need to get work done. It could be that person that you are managing remotely, who you can't see, that's actually turning around the work faster, better, more improved, is someone who is actually giving you exactly what you need, and you have no idea how many hours they worked.
Yeah.
Maybe they worked 4 and maybe they worked 40. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I think if you're so focused on hours, you really need to check that,
Yeah.
because it's just not just not smart. It's not a smart way to manage people these days.
Yeah. I'd like to think about it in terms of like a value to effort ratio.
Yeah.
Like how much, what are the results and how much effort did you need to put in there? So, let's just move away from assuming that working a certain number of hours means anything. On its own, it means very little in terms of whether they're a productive worker or not. Still something to look at. I want to know, why am I not seeing somebody in the office a lot? But that just means we've got to dig a bit deeper. Or why is she staying so long? That doesn't mean anything other than I need to figure out why she's staying so long.
Yeah. Another way of also just saying that is like results over rigid rules.
Yeah.
That is really the true future of leadership today, because you got change coming at you, lots of things moving, and you're focused on hours. It's like, are you kidding me right now? It's just not. It's just not smart.
Yeah.
All right, so let's sort of wrap this up. There's I just want to sort of reinforce what we've talked about. There are things that you need to do right now or learn how to do. The very first one is embrace trust and autonomy. So please, for the love of God, let go of micromanagement and being the one that has to tell everybody everything to do. And the one that has to hold all of the answers while you have these brilliant, amazing people around you, and deeper within your organization if you have a big organization. So embrace trust and autonomy. Develop emotional intelligence. You guys have heard me talk about this. I will not drop it. Your ability to be self-aware, socially aware, and connected to the people who are around you is just smart. And so people first. I know when you hear that, you're separating it from the 3 circles, but that is not what that means. It just means if you understand the what and how, which is going to be constantly changing, your who may not change that much, but your what and how is constantly changing. You need to have the ability as the leader to adapt to that person sitting in front of you who you now need to get connected to the what and how that's constantly changing.
Yeah.
So you have to have a little bit of people first. Stay adaptable and open to change. Again, we talked about this notion of like staying in that sort of space of continuous learning. How do you make sure that you are open and adaptable and malleable on your team, so that when all of these things are coming at you, you can evolve and you don't fall behind. Because you as the leader will be responsible for getting that group of people to do whatever is expected. Communicate with clarity and prioritize asynchronous communication. So do not hold all the cards. Do not wait for a meeting to share. Look for ways through, again, Slack, Notion, whatever kind of communication tool to share out information for people. We talked about this before. Not everybody takes in information the same way, right? Some people visually need to see it. Some people need to hear it. And some people need to read. And then there are other ways in which people take in information, even outside of those 3 that I just mentioned. So as a leader, you need to think about, what are the multiple ways in which I can get things out? And to really make sure that when you're communicating or in those conversations, it's really meaningful. And last but not least, measure outcomes, not hours. And that one, I just don't get. I still don't get it. I've been working for over 20 years. I still don't get leaders who look at hours. It just does not make any sense to me. Dean, anything you would sort of say about those 5, or anything you want to add there?
No, I just think you summarized them beautifully, as you often do here. And want to encourage our leaders who are listening, who've been with us through this whole season, because we know you do care about what it feels like to be you, what it feels like to be led by you, and you care about the kind of work that you do, your expertise, and the organization you're working in. So you're here because you're putting in the effort. So again, I'm like super encouraging and want to say thank you for that. And I really trust that of these things we've shared with you, whilst things have been changing, there might be a new little insight for you that you say, oh, there's something else that I might still be able to refine. Where am I seeking stability where maybe some flexibility is required? Where am I maybe pushing a little bit hard on execution and I need to incorporate a little bit more about my people there? Where can I focus a little bit more about my own mindset, because it's showing up in how I'm judging or assessing people based on what I'm seeing, the number of hours they're working, whatever. So trust that there's something powerful in there that you can apply, that you can continue to refine in your own leadership. So thank you. Keep going. We need a more human approach to leadership here today, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing I would add is that leadership is changing and we're all learning. I mean, Dean and I are learning. I think the good news is that we've worked long enough to see the ebbs and flows in organizations and have seen, even though this time I think is super scary for people, I don't know why, I sit in complete comfort that I actually know as a leader how to adapt to this time. And that is what we're sharing with you. We are absolutely here to help you navigate a lot of this change with confidence. A lot of us, we not only have this podcast, but we have our coaching businesses. We have tools that we're going to be creating and can create. So connect with us on, LinkedIn, connect with us, around this podcast. Reach out. The one thing I love about Dean and I, not just together, is we are people first. I think we have always been people first. We do think about the people that we are working with and trying to help them, get through change with confidence. So keep leading, keep growing, rewire your leadership for the future because it's needed. And just know that we are here for you. So if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe and please leave us a review because we love feedback. And, until next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alison. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.